You get to the peak of the ladder, and then you now discover that you are climbing at the wrong ladder. We have three spheres of leadership. Right? So there is no structure to tell you that this form of leadership is just the best. Rather, it's what comes up at any point in time.
So is there some part of it where you have to understand yourself, your own leadership, let's say leadership skills and abilities? Because you said something that the best thing is to be a participatory leader by being in the ocean. But then
Right.
I've also heard about people that lead from the front, people that lead from the back. It's like you can be fluid with this, which will eventually have to do with you understanding yourself. So is there any reason why you said participatory leader is the best form? Because I know there are other forms as well, but is there any reason?
There's no particular reason, right? We have several types of leadership. Okay, both leading from the back, leading from the front is all. Even participatory leader is just one area. But then to approach this question, I'm going to tell you we have three spheres of leadership. The first one is self. Okay, and then the second one is team, and the third is business. Now these three areas encompasses every organ of leadership. Why? Because leadership is all about self-discovery. You cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead others if you cannot lead yourself. Leadership is about being able to inspire people. Effective leadership is based on ideas. So what does that tell you? You must know yourself before you know other persons. Because many people have failed to discover their strengths and their weakness, they have not been able to know how to adjust when they're leading people. One of the big things in leadership is all about being vulnerable. So in allowing leadership to come into reality, you must be able to understand the dynamics of what comes to with leadership. And being vulnerable is one of those areas. So once you've now known yourself, you've known your strengths and your capacity, then you now have emotional intelligence to manage people. That is why the other area comes up with team. With team right now, you're leading a tool, you're leading a family, you're leading in your work, you're leading a community, you're leading in politics as a team. And that is where emotional intelligence comes in. Social awareness, relationship, capacity building. That is where it comes in. Then you now talk about in business, right? So there is no structure to tell you that this form of leadership is just the best. Rather, it's what comes up at any point in time. That was why I mentioned about authoritative, innovative or transformative, charismatic or persuasive. These are all other dynamics of leadership. But as you move along, you will now know what comes in. There will become at a time you will now use your intuitive knowledge to decipher the next line of action.
You said something about personal leadership, and at some point you also mentioned a man who leads in a family and a man who leads in business. And I want us to, and you also said something about politics. So I believe that's the social form of leadership. Like it's like from the family to the business to like social, that's like three different perspectives. And I want us to take it from the family. Are you familiar with Dr. Jordan Peterson?
With who?
Dr. Jordan Peterson.
No, no.
Okay, so he's a clinical psychologist who wrote a book called 12 Rules to Life. And he's famous for saying things like people want to solve the problem in the world, but before you can solve the problem in the world, you have to like fix the problem in your bedroom. So he's famous for the line clean your room first. Okay, so I just want us to do a bit of correlation. I'm just trying to tie it to what you said about personal leadership and then business leadership and then social leadership. Is it possible to be successful in a social leadership and business leadership without being successful in personal leadership?
Well, I don't think it's possible. And let me approach it from this angle. You can reach a pinnacle of success in life, okay? Let me put it this way. Imagine you climbing a ladder and you get to the peak of the ladder, and then you now discover that you are climbing at the wrong ladder. You climb the ladder and go to the peak, only to discover that you were leaning on the wrong wall, but you've got to the peak. Now, what that tells you, I call that a defective success. All right, so defective success is all about you knowing fully well that you were born or you were created or you have a passion for law, but you now saw yourself as an artist or a doctor or any field of life, and you go to the peak, but you're not happy, you're not satisfied, you don't have joy. That's what I call defective success. Getting to the pinnacle of life, but you are leaning on the wrong platform. Okay, excuse me. Now, when it comes to leading yourself, that is a fundamental part of leadership. And leadership always comes from the family. Now, a friend of mine once said, if a man has not been able to convince his wife on why he should engage in any form of business, there is no way he can convince the world or society. Why? Because you should be able to convince your wife. That is the first step of leadership. And that is a gospel truth. That's just a fact, regardless of anyhow you might think about it. So in the same line, you should be able to lead your family. I don't really believe in leading the world when your family is in disarray. Any form of leadership you might want to engage in, people will tell you charity begins at home. It's a fact. I understand that some families can be difficult, but that is where it starts, because leadership entails sacrifice, compromise, tolerance, empathy, vision. Like you rightly noted in this webinar, dynamic leadership. You have to be dynamic, because a leader is a person who is far able to motivate the people, but more importantly, close enough to relate with them. So before you can take someone to the promised land, you must be able to relate with them in order to show them the vision. Because the hallmark of leadership is about two things: service and vision. Right? So you cannot lead others without you leading yourself. It starts from the family. Being able to manage your house. In marriage, it has been said that when a marriage collapses, the man is at fault, 100%. That is what the society has made us understand. They don't really care about the woman. They just believe that the man is the one in charge of the family. The woman must have been the one that made the whole divorce a success. She must have been, an ass or whatever you might call her. But people just believe that the man is the head. You should be in charge of the family, no matter how high-headed the woman might be. So in that same light, you must be able to lead your family. And leading your family sometimes is the most challenging part in life. So you must find a way to see how you can bridge the gap. So if you have been able to succeed in your business and also in your social life without being able to succeed in your family, you're gone. Because guess what? Tomorrow, if your wife is being interviewed, she could make a word that can stabilize you no matter what you say, and that is what the world will believe. Same thing for the man. If he believes that the wife has been great out there externally, leading the world, but she's failing in her home duties, the man might feel frustrated or whatever. He might tell you, she's doing a great job out there, but personally, I'm not seeing it. I don't feel it, and she's not doing a good job internally. And that leaves a lacuna for the woman. So that tells you that leadership starts from the family.